Welcome to Sage and Stone Homestead. If you have not met me yet, my name is Heather. I'm working again in the kitchen. I feel like this is definitely the start of the time of year where I am in the kitchen a lot, preserving things, because there's a lot that I have on my list that I'm trying to get out of my freezer so that I can fill my freezers again. Actually, funny thing, we are going to be filling the freezers with some of this rabbit that we butchered a week ago. So in the past, I have vac packed my rabbit. I have done those poultry shrink bags to the rabbits, and I have just packed them up in Ziploc bags to put them in the freezer. And in every one of those cases, I've put them in whole, and then I just would pull out one whole rabbit, cut it up before we ate it, and then that was fine. Well, our family is growing. Not that we are having more kids, we're not, if I can help it, but our children are getting bigger and their appetites are getting bigger, and I'm finding that one rabbit isn't enough to feed our family anymore. So what I have done the last couple times that I've put rabbits away is to piece them out before freezing them, and that is saving me some time on the back end when it comes to cooking time, and I actually quite like it. Now I want to credit New Day Family Farm. She has a process for cutting up rabbit that is really cool, because I want to show you this cut called the belly roll that actually gives you a cut off of the rabbit that most resembles chicken breast, as close as you can. All right, so here's our rabbit. I do like to pat them dry as much as I can just to make them a little bit easier to work with. And these rabbits that we're dealing with today are actually some of our pretty bunnies. So there's some of the rabbits that aren't exactly bred for meat. There's still quite a bit of meat on this bunny. It's probably about 16 weeks old. This is one of the butchering knives that we like to use on processing day. I actually like to use it for this process as well. I will link this down below. This is in our Amazon shop. Easily one of my favorite knives, really easy to work with and cuts really well. If you'd like a more detailed description on how to part out a rabbit into its individual pieces, I'll put my video that gets really in depth to that, as well as New Day Family Farms video down below too. Now this is the part where things get different than what I have done before. In the past, I would have taken off the belly flaps, and then I would have taken this like back strap piece off, and that would have been its own piece of bone-in meat. We are actually going to debone this in a way where we do get more meat than I was getting previously, because we're actually going to take some of this meat off that sits above the rib cage and goes up into the neck area. So what I'm doing is actually just following along the rib cage until the knife hits the spine, and then we will change the angle of our cut. Notice I'm not going all the way down. I'm trying to keep this belly flap intact and still attached to the loin piece here. So I'm down to the spine on this side, and I'm going to cut alongside the spine down until I get to the ribs on this part. Can you see that there? So now this part is all freed up, and this is what I was missing out on before. Now it did go into our bone broth bag, but still. Now on the inside, what I'd like to do is take this part off. This is like the tenderloin in the rabbit. This is going to also be one piece with the rest of the loin, and I'm going to be cutting on one side of the inside of the spine, kind of tracing along where the spine is. You can see that I'm using my fingers basically as my second pair of eyeballs to see down into the cut to figure out what I'm doing. Obviously watch your fingers here. But I'm just slicing this piece of meat off of the spine. The rabbit's spine is an interesting shape. It almost has like a V shape where it cups in and goes upward. So I've taken the meat off of one side of the V, and then this is where the spine goes on the inside, and we've gone down the other side of the V. I'll show you up close what I'm talking about when I'm done. So I'm just freeing up the belly flap from the rib portion here. And I'm just kind of meeting back up with myself where I left off with this loin piece. And again, we're back at the spine of the rabbit. I'm going to be just cutting along the spine until I get to the part of the rabbit that's that V shape. And again, I will show you that up close when we're done. Gonna free up the loin from the hip, and then this is that whole piece. This is what that piece looks like all laid out. Belly flap, tenderloin, and then the loin part, the back strap of the rabbit. And what we're gonna do is actually pull in this side piece here and roll this up. This is what New Day Family Farm calls the belly roll. Isn't that awesome? And this here is what we have left. That's the whole skeleton. And I think you can see better here what I was trying to describe to you as the V. This part of the rabbit's spine really does like cup up. And so you have to free up the tenderloin. This is on the inside, the belly part, from inside the V first and then come out around. Hope that makes sense. But this is going in the bone broth bag. And then this is what we have. 2 legs, well, 2 back legs, 2 front legs, and then the belly roll. And the way that I've been packaging this up is by the piece. So I'm putting the back legs in one bag, and then when I get 6 or 8 of them, I'm gonna seal it up, and that is how I will put it in the freezer. I'm probably gonna put more of the front legs per bag as I've done in the past. These we're gonna treat more like chicken wings in the future, and then these will treat a lot like chicken breast. With rabbit, you do have to cook things a little bit differently, but that's what that's going to be most like. I can't remember her name over there, but the New Day Family Farm lady, she talked about how you could do something really creative, like fill this like a chicken cordon bleu, but except for it's rabbit, so put like ham, cheese, jalapeno, something like that inside, roll it up, maybe even bread it and then cook it. I haven't done anything with the belly rolls that I've cut yet, but I will very soon. And of course I will report back how we like it. I'm sure we're going to like it. We like rabbit in all the ways that we've tried it. So that was 10 rabbits. It took me almost 2 hours to part them out, which is the reason that I don't tend to do it, or hadn't tended to do it previously, because I felt like that was a lot of time. However, it is time that's shaved off of the back end, and I have to remember that. But this is what we got. Again, this was 10 rabbits, and I packaged each thing up in like individual meals. These are the soup bones, so these are gonna actually go in my roaster pretty soon to make bone broth. But then we have 2 packs of rabbit wings, 3 packs of rabbit legs, and then the belly rolls. So a total of 8 meals. 10 rabbits, 8 meals. Hello, happy Saturday. It's probably been a month since I weed whacked the garden. This is my perennial garden. I do have some annual things in here, and I've got to do it today. I'm actually filming tomorrow the garden tour that you would have seen the Tuesday prior to this video going live, and so it's a good time to get the garden all weed whacked. I only really have to do this about every 2 weeks. I probably could do it more often, but I don't usually worry about it too much. The stuff that I'm weed whacking is just in the walkway, and usually it's not in my way. And I say usually because I do have some volunteer tomatoes that were growing up quite well, except for we got I guess wind and rain yesterday that really flopped them over. I think I'm gonna leave them there for now. I might have to take them out eventually, but I'll show you how we clean this up. not forget that this is not a lawn care channel. This little cute thing right here, this is a volunteer asparagus. I really don't want to leave it in this bed, but it's something that I can move when it gets a little bit bigger. This is probably a first-year plant. It is so tiny and spindly, and maybe next year the crown will be big enough, it'll be a second-year plant at that point, where I'll be able to move it successfully because it'll have some energy stored up within it. So I'm just leaving it for now. I'll find a spot for it eventually. Done a lot of mushrooms lately. We've gotten a lot of rain. There's more to come. It is always safe to assume that any mushroom you find in the garden is toxic. Do not eat them. But I've seen a lot of people, especially in like the reviews of some of the soils and things that you can find at the big box stores, the reviews that you read online, people will complain about, you know, this soil was just full of mushrooms and I'm picking them out every day. And I just picked that one out, but you don't actually have to pick them out if they're not in your way. Maybe you'd want to if there's like a whole bunch of them. I'll actually share a picture right now of what this bed looked like just a couple of days ago. It was crazy, but usually big flushes of mushrooms are only existing like that for a day or so. And mushrooms do so many good things for the garden. The part that you see on top of the soil is just a fraction. It's like the tip of the iceberg of the mycelium network that's going on underneath the soil. If you see mushrooms, it's generally a good sign that the soil is working on breaking down, and that mycelium network is a really great kind of pre-digestion for the nutrition in the bed, and your plants are able to uptake those nutrients better when the mycelium is present. So yeah, the mushrooms are a good sign that there's good stuff going on down below, which is what we want. There you go. We haven't brush hogged the field at all this year, and that's not the real plan for today. Levi is preparing a space to put my buck house. He spent the last free time that he had on weekends in the last month remodeling our neighbor's bathroom to get the money to get the materials to build a much nicer house for our buck goats to have. And he's got a clear, and now it's kind of scary. I know he's not gonna hurt me, but he's got to brush hog the area where he's gonna be building. And so it's actually gonna go right here in between the greenhouse and then this original buck pen that we had when we started the homestead. So we've got to let him in. The 8 baby bucks are in here, but they are going to be scared of the tractor. He's gonna keep an eye out for them. Hey Levi, the goats are not away. They're probably gonna be scared of you, but there's 8 little babies in here. Okay. I have also asked him to mow a circle around my bees because they're kind of buried. Hi boys. Hi baby.
That's 31 feet in between the closest point there.
Cool.
Believe it or not. I will move it further this way, but...
Ow. Dude, he just bit me. Lightning is biting my toes. Cut it out. Cut it out, sir. Hey, you guys come with me. Come on. You guys just hang out back here. He's gonna be mowing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Lightning, not my toes. Y'all are just ruthless. My goodness. I fed y'all already. I did. Normally, this is the area where I'd put my bucks to keep them out of the way of anything that I'm doing out in the field, whether I'm doing my beekeeping stuff or whatever. But we've got our breeding group in here, which still, so far, I haven't noticed any breeding. It doesn't mean that it hasn't happened and I haven't noticed it. But you guys are taking up space in here right now, which is fine. You're allowed. bees so many times without any protection. The bees, knock on wood, have never gone after him, not even once with the tractor. They have with the weed whacker before. If I could have till that corner right there to be able to set up my netting, that would be great. We've grabbed our little laser gun for seeing if the temperature of our green barn versus the temperature of the bone white part of the barn, because now's the time. If we felt like we wanted to pick a different color for the buck barn, we could, but I'm pretty sure there's going to be a pretty big difference in the temperatures of the inside of the metal. You're going to check the outside? You might have to get closer, I don't know.
No. 105. Yeah, 105, 117.
Okay. I expected more of a drastic difference. The inside is where I think.
101. 110, 111.
Okay, so it's like 10 degrees. I expected it to be like a 30-degree difference because it just, your arms bake if you touch it. It gets worse it gets much worse as the heat comes on in summer. So obviously the white is making a difference. That's what I want then. And I want to bake my goats, not yet.
10 degrees. It'll be interesting to see if it remains consistently about 10 degrees or if it's really like a 9% difference.
Oh, I see. Yeah, we'll have to test that throughout the summer. We did put this shade cloth in for the rabbits because silly me, I thought I remembered that the sun didn't hit this wall, the side of the barn, ever. And when we put this barn extension on, I thought the rabbits would be fine against this wall. Once the sun gets low enough, it comes through the door here and it shines directly on the rabbits, which is not good. So the shade cloth is literally a lifesaver. How you bunnies doing? It's not too warm today.
The heck did a tomato wind up in here?
How did a tomato wind up anywhere? Of course there's a tomato in there. They keep standing in that
pail.
Protein pail. I gotta get it out of there, they're gonna get stuck. He's standing in their protein pail. It's not good. There might be wasps under there.
Probably.
So I guess I'll let you do it. We gotta get that out or they're gonna get stuck in the pail eventually.
Does not roll in a straight line for nothing.
Yeah. Oh gosh, yeah, of course you can pick it up.
Way easier than rolling it.
Okay.
Not easy. Not for a long distance.
You guys are precious. You are. Don't test this gate.
Golly.
Thank you. Yeah, it looks like it was already starting to get soft. I've heard of these protein pails getting so soft that the baby goats especially get in it and then they kind of sink and get stuck. Like it's mostly molasses. So he's gonna scrounge something up to put over that so that we don't have any like barn cats or birds or anything getting stuck in it until I need to use it again this coming winter. It'll store there just fine. Levi is on his way back from the lumber yard, getting the lumber for the buck pen. And I thought I was timing myself properly with him getting home. He's gonna drive through the girl pasture to get back to where the buck pen is being built. It's just easier for our big trailer. So I'm gonna go unlock the front gate and kind of wait for him. I'm gonna feed the girls when he gets here so that they're distracted and hopefully don't run all over the place and get in the way. I'm surprised they're not yelling at me. They will be in due time. What are you girls doing? Are you having fun? You gotta get down. All right, come on. Let's go eat. Come on, girls. Mama, you wanna come eat? Gracie! Mama!
Release it slowly.
So what happened was one of the holes was dug deeper than the other.
Either that or it's just the ground is, like if they might have been dug both 20 inches deep or whatever.
Okay.
But the ground is not necessarily level.
So he's lifted up one of the ends to make it level. And when he puts the concrete in the hole, the concrete's gonna go underneath the post and help keep it level.
In theory, at least. I do want it fairly loose so that it will settle underneath the post.
Okay.
But not too loose because then it's not strong.
All right. Hello, it's a little bit breezy today and I will go show you an update on the buck pen in a little bit, but right now I've got another batch of elderflower cordial that I'd like to make. I know I've talked about this a lot lately, but this has such a short season and it is so good that I wanted to make sure I talked about it as much as possible. So I did have a question on one of my garden tours recently about if I harvest the flowers, does that mean that I am foregoing getting elderberries? And I thought that that would happen last year. I had enough elderberry syrup saved up where I was fine missing out on the elderberries last year. But actually what the plants did in response to me harvesting the flowers is they made more flowers. And I got to have both. I got the flowers for elderflower cordial and I got berries later, a lot of berries. Now this plant that I have here is easily the biggest and highest production plant that I have as far as elderberries go. I do have, I think it's 7 or 9 plants, and we only ever look at this one because this is the showstopper. So if you have a plant that maybe is a little bit smaller and is trying to get more established, be mindful that it may not bounce back like that. I don't know why this plant does so well, but it does. It is kind of near a little bit of a ditch that we have back here. There is some runoff kind of close to our neighbor's cow farm, and so maybe some of that contributes. And I also have a garden kitty graveyard underneath, so maybe some of those cats are fertilizing this plant. It sounds kind of gross and weird, but it's actually kind of beautiful to me. So yeah, when I'm harvesting, I am looking for clusters that have newer flowers. You can just tell that because the flowers are bright and beautiful. They're all the way open, and they have little tiny anthers on it with creamy yellow pollen in it, and that's what we want because that's where the flavor is. Beautiful. Ah, oh, smells amazing. And if you've never had elderflower things before, but you have smelled the blooms, it tastes a lot like it smells. Very floral. All right, so I've already pre-made the syrup part of things. It is 5 pounds of sugar. Remember, this is a concentrate, so don't let that scare you. Almost 3 quarts of water, 85 grams of citric acid, 1/4 cup of lemon juice. And you bring that to a boil, and as soon as it boils, shut it off. And now this is still warm. You can probably see the steam. I'm just going to be taking the kitchen shears here and the flowers that we just harvested and clipping them off of this like larger stem here and just letting them steep in the syrup. Now, there will be little buggies that fall in here and die. You can rinse your flowers if you want. The thing is, when you do that, a lot of that pollen is gonna wash off, and so you're sacrificing flavor. If the buggies bother you, then definitely do that, but they don't bother me, and everything strains out anyway, and this is so high acid, there's nothing bad that the bugs could bring on that's going to be able to live in this. Now this is gonna steep in here just like this for a full 24 hours. And at that point I will strain it and then reheat this so that I can can it. There is not an official approved canning recipe for elderflower cordial. I choose to do it because I know how high acid this is. There's way more acid in this than like the grape juice and things that I can as soon as we get ripe grapes on the vines that I have out in the garden. But yeah, that won't happen until tomorrow. Hi, babe.
Hi.
How's it going?
It's going. It's a little too spicy out here for my liking.
It's a little too spicy out here. It's pretty hot. It's,
at least there's a breeze today, though.
yeah, it is breezier today than yesterday. You're going to be adding hurricane straps too, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
These are just to temporarily hold it.
Okay. So this is the front of it. It's got a pitched roof, as you see, and this is going to be the doorway. So he's going to take off this board here and move it up a little bit, and then take off that baseboard there. So they'll be able to run in there. Got some exciting surprises going on inside the barn that I'm not going to talk about in this video, but I'm thrilled that we're able to build this for our Bucky boys. They've been in the pallet shelters for a while, which honestly, they have held up much longer than I thought they would, and they have been very sound and good spaces for our bucks during some of the coldest winters and things. But it's time to replace it, and I'm so excited. Especially since I apparently have a buck problem. I needed more space anyway. This little house is really only good for 3 small goats to live in, and there's 8 baby bucks right here, and then my three of my senior bucks are out with their ladies right now, so I currently have 11. And so little houses like this really aren't big enough for them, especially if we're gonna have rainy days or super cold weather. They're gonna be cooped up in there. It's just not healthy for them. And so this bigger barn, it's gonna be really good. I know it's hot. Yeah, go get your food too. I know that's really what you want. I think I'm gonna grab some hay for these guys. There is some forage in here for them. They've really actually taken this down quite a lot in just the one day that they've been here. But I wanna make sure that they're getting some quality hay. And then I actually have another line of electric netting that I'm gonna put out around the workspace here. So he can come in through here to work on the barn, and the bucks can still have all of this pasture. It's quite large. It goes all the way out around the greenhouse and actually around that edge of our property. They'll have all of that to roam again. So I'll be able to open this up, take this door off and block this area so they can't come in here, which is the workspace. And then back there, they'll be blocked off by the electric netting. But that's a tomorrow project. Sorry guys. You'll be okay though. Yes, you will. Good evening. So today we have a little bit of a story time. A couple of you probably can remember that a few weeks ago we helped our friends process some of their chickens, and usually, not that this is a rule or anything, but a lot of the times when homesteaders go and help other homesteaders do homestead things, they kind of pay them with a little bit of the harvest. So our friends had given us 4 beautiful chickens. This is not one of their chickens. Actually, this is an egg-laying breed. I don't really know what breed, but there's a little bit of a story behind this chicken that I wanted to talk to you guys about because it's an interesting situation. This has never happened to me before. So yesterday, pretty early, the kids noticed that there was a rooster in our front yard. Now our whole property is fenced and gated, so there's a gate on our driveway. And this rooster was just kind of pacing by our front gate, back and forth, literally all day. And it's been pretty hot here recently, like summer has finally arrived. And I was kind of surprised that the rooster wasn't returning back to its flock. Now, honestly, I don't know anyone in the immediate area that really has chickens that I've noticed. The Amish farms that are close to us probably have some, and there is a new Amish dairy that just went in about a mile up the road. And so I texted some friends and asked, hey, do you know where this chicken goes? And nobody knew where it went. And so our mail comes a little bit later in the day, and the mailman, when he came, accidentally scared the chicken into our yard. Maybe he thought it was ours. And honestly, I don't want a rogue rooster running around my property. I don't like my chickens to free range because I don't want them pooping all over creation, but I also don't want them screwing up my gardens, and that's a big deal to me. I don't want them digging around in my gardens. I have enough of that going on with the cats and dog. So yeah, what we decided to do was grab the rooster, and here he is. Now, I want to say that this rooster, he had been in front of my house all day, and I processed him in the evening time, and he had a totally empty crop. And what that told me is that this rooster was likely dumped here, and that this wasn't a free-ranging bird that heard other chickens and got a little bit lost. Because chickens that free range usually forage pretty well, and he didn't even try to eat one little grass blade. Very, very strange. So my theory is that this rooster was dumped near our property, and this kind of a thing does happen to a lot of farms. People will see a farm and think that, oh, you've got a farm, you could use more animals. And honestly, while I'm grateful to have the meal, this is something that I don't feel like should be encouraged out there. Now, a lot of people got into chickens this year. Very likely this bird was an accidental rooster. We've gotten them plenty of times when we've gotten chicks either at the hatcheries or from the hatcheries or at the farm store. Those kinds of things happen. So when you get into any kind of livestock, you need to have a plan of what you're going to do if you have unwanted animals that may arise for any number of reasons, really. My in-laws actually had a sheep that was dropped off at their property. It was a small lamb, and they ended up eating that as well. And it's just one of those things where I appreciate the gift, if you can even call it that. But what I would really appreciate more is people having a plan for the animals in their care. You will see posts online where people do get these unwanted roosters or accidental roosters in their chick orders or whatever, and they'll offer them up for free, but to pet homes only. And I think that those perfect ideal situations, those beautiful utopias for the unwanted rooster, those situations, they're not impossible. I know that they exist. They must exist somewhere, but I think that they're a lot more rare than like Instagram would like us to believe. Actually, it's funny, when he showed up, the content creator side of me, like I never would do this because I don't want to ever show you guys something that is untrue, but my brain was like, oh, this could go really far. I could like rescue this bird and pamper this bird, and that would probably go pretty far all over the internet, of this unwanted bird that finds this beautiful home and the happy ending that that would portray. That kind of thing is something that goes far on the internet. And I don't really blame people for loving a story like that, because it's nice to think about, but it's genuinely not the reality for most farms. It's something that goes really far on the internet, but it's not real life 99.9% of the time. This is what happens. This is real life. And like, it's kind of sad, but also this bird is fulfilling a purpose and is gonna be delicious. So really, when it comes down to it, I think it's just important that if you're going to have animals of any kind, really, whether it be pets or livestock, that you have a plan for this kind of a situation, and that plan not be dumping them on somebody that you're assuming is maybe going to give them a great home or appreciate them. It's not kind to the animal or to the person that you're dumping them on to put that responsibility on somebody else. That responsibility is yours, even if it's a situation where you get an accidental rooster. Plan for these kinds of things to happen, because they happen a lot. We may have different ideas about what we would hope for certain animals, but to end up in the freezer, I mean, it's a worthy purpose for an unwanted rooster. That's been happening for generations, unwanted roosters going to the freezer. And you know, they're really not hard to process. I prefer raising and butchering rabbits because I just think they're overall just so much easier. But I was able to unexpectedly process that rooster a couple evenings ago, and it didn't ruin my evening at all. It was an extra thing that I had to do. I wouldn't want to do it all the time, so don't be dropping off all kinds of roosters here. That's not the point of this conversation. And so it didn't take that much time to pluck them and to do all that, and I feel like it's a skill that anyone can learn, and it is kind of hard to think about butchering your own animal, but in the very least, just be okay with the fact that that is probably going to happen to an unwanted rooster that is given away, and that's okay. Just have these plans and expectations ahead of time, so you're not trying to scramble to figure out what to do when these surprise situations arise. These kinds of things are, in my opinion, maybe because I've been in it for a long time, but they should be expected when you're on a farm or on homestead. You kind of expect the unexpected, and rogue roosters, accidental roosters, that's the kind of thing that happens. So my plan to serve as a side with our roast driveway rooster is I'm going to pan fry these green beans, and then I have some sour cream and onion powder that we get at our local Amish store. I'm gonna put that on them as like a seasoning with a little bit of green onion from the greenhouse. Ugh, it's gonna be good. You can probably see here that I have green beans lined up. I went into the greenhouse randomly yesterday, and it was my green bean picking day, but this bag of green beans took me 2 harvests to fill, so I didn't think there would be as many green beans as were in there. I just started looking around like, holy moly, I really need to harvest, and then I probably need to stay up and can, which is exactly what I did. Got 5 quarts. It was amazing. So we're definitely in the thick of bean season now, and so because we're going to be eating fresh beans as well, these guys are going to be on the shelf until we are fully out of bean season. And I try to keep green beans going the entire growing season because I love them so much. I love them canned, I love them fresh, very easy to grow and forgiving in the garden. They don't need a whole ton of nutrition to really produce, and actually when the roots of the bean plants are left in the ground, they break down and help add nitrogen to the soil. So that's good. They're a good crop all around. Hello, welcome to Sage and Stone. Darn it, can't even talk.